Welcome to this week's Travel and History Tip. This Saturday, we are going to be talking about President Truman, President Carter, and President Hoover. Last Saturday, we talked about President Lincoln, President Kennedy, and President Eisenhower, and the week before that, President Reagan, President Nixon, and President Bush. This concludes the trilogy on U.S. presidents and the presidential museums. The first stop this week is in Independence, Missouri. In history-rich Independence, the Harry S. Truman National Historic Site honors the 34th Vice President and 33rd U.S. President. It protects the 1885 Truman home, which sits 5 blocks west of the Visitor Center, and the Truman Farm located in nearby Grandview. Harry S. Truman National Historic Landmark District inspires and informs visitors via 43 embedded sidewalk plaques on the 2.7-mile Harry S. Truman walking trail. The trail leads to the Truman Presidential Library and Museum. Like all presidential libraries, this is a great place to tour. The presentation includes a reproduction, Oval Office, newspapers from the World War II time period, recently declassified documents, and personal items of the man behind the hat, cane, and glasses. While there, be sure to read the letter to him from a Holocaust victim about her little piano. Other sites we appreciated along the walking trail and elsewhere in Independence included the Truman home, his boyhood home, the 1859 jail, the Clinton soda fountain where Harry once worked, always called Harry S. Truman. The S did not stand for a name but simply the letter S. Unable to fulfill his dream as a concert pianist, he joined the military. He served from 1905 through 1911 with the Missouri National Guard. In his early 30s during World War I, he was a U.S. Army captain in France. Elizabeth Bess Virginia Wallace was born in Independence and met Harry in Sunday school. He was 6 and she was 5. They wed when she was 34 years old. That took a while, didn't it? Her family home later became known as the Truman home. They had one daughter, Margaret, who stayed continuously by their side. They were often called the Three Musketeers. Failing as a haberdasher, if you don't know what a haberdasher is, look it up. He turned to politics with a career that excelled. Starting as Eastern District Judge of Jackson County Court, he advanced to U.S. Senator. Then, to his dismay, he served as Franklin D. Roosevelt's third vice president. When FDR died less than 82 days after beginning the fourth term as president, Truman found himself in the big seat at the age of 60 in a tumultuous time in world history. This made him the 7th vice president who succeeded to the presidency because of the death of his predecessor. Can you name the other 6? He was president from April 12, 1945 through January 20th, 1953. While finishing out Roosevelt's term, he did not have a vice president. Truman's career as president is one of the most important in American history, with many prominent events occurring under his watch, from the rise of communism to scandals on the home front. As president, he received the lowest approval rating ever recorded, not broken until President George W. Bush in 2008. Coincidentally, at one time during his presidency, he received the highest approval rating until President George H.W. Bush in 1991. He is also the only president after 1897 who had not earned a college degree. His inauguration was the first to be nationally televised. During his military service in Europe, he saw firsthand the treatment of the Jews by Hitler's regime. As a result, 11 minutes after Israel declared itself a nation, Truman officially recognized the State of Israel, the first world leader to do so. Israel renamed a village in his honor, Kfar Truman. From December 1949 until March 1952, the whole interior of the White House underwent extensive reconstruction, uprooting the first family to the nearby Blair House. While there, 2 Puerto Rican nationals attempted to assassinate him. During his term, the 22nd Amendment to the United States Constitution was ratified, disallowing a president to be elected for a third time, or having served more than 2 years of a previous president's term. Truman was grandfathered from this amendment, but he chose not to run for re-election. With no retirement packages for presidents, Truman's post-presidential income amounted to his Army pension of $112.56 per month. In 1958, the Former President's Act was passed and allowed for $25,000 in annual retirement pay. Truman died from multiple organ failure on December 26, 1972, at the age of 88 at the Kansas City Research Hospital and Medical Center. The Three Musketeers are buried on the Presidential Library grounds. The 39th U.S. President, James Earl Jimmy Carter, was born in Plains, Georgia on October 1, 1924. He was the first U.S. president born in a hospital. The peanut farmer not only was a top graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy at Annapolis, he graduated 59th out of 820 midshipmen. He was a nuclear physicist, a Navy veteran, a Georgia state senator, and the governor of Georgia from 1971 to 1975. He married a local Plains girl named Eleanor Roslyn Smith in 1946. The couple had 4 children. His presidency was plagued by high oil prices, high interest rates, high inflation, and the devastating capture of the U.S. Embassy employees in Iran. Carter is internationally known for the Camp David Accord and ceding the Panama Canal. Located in Atlanta, Georgia, the Jimmy Carter Library Museum is part of the presidential library system. While there, we saw a replica of the Oval Office, china used at the White House, the brown cardigan sweater he wore at his fireside chats, Rosalind's formal gowns, and we stood in front of 27 million pages of documents, 600,000 photographs, 40,000 objects, 1 million feet of film, and 3,750 hours of audio and videotape stored at the library. Now, I don't have a lot of pictures of the library because, again, they don't allow flash photography in a lot of the areas. While we were there, we did get to see the American Originals treasures from the National Archives. That was fabulous. If you ever have an opportunity to see this traveling exhibit, make a point to do so. Off the Herbert Hoover Highway, the Herbert Hoover National Historic Site lies in West Branch, Iowa. The 187-acre historic site includes Hoover's 1874 two-room birthplace cottage, a one-room schoolhouse, a powerful presidential library museum, and his wife's grave sites. The Quaker Friends Meeting House his family attended, replica blacksmith shop, and 76 acres of tallgrass prairie are also part of the site. Hoover attended the 1962 dedication of the museum and library. Like all the presidential libraries, this one is excellent, displaying extraordinary records and fascinating items. And let me interject here. Like at the Carter Museum, there wasn't a whole lot of personal items. That's because if the presidents are still alive or their wives are still alive, many of the family gifts, heirlooms, furniture, personal items are not at the museum yet. They're still under the family care. Back to Hoover. His family called him Bert. By the age of 10, he lost both his parents to death. At 11, the lad hopped aboard a train to Newburgh, Oregon to live with his uncle Minthorn, who recently had lost his own son. In 1893, Hoover received a degree in geology and was part of Stanford University's first graduating class. He met his soon-to-be wife at Stanford. Lou Henry was born in Waterloo, Iowa. She was the first woman to earn a degree in geology at Stanford. Lou was fluent in 5 languages. Sounds like our current First Lady. Hoover worked in the California goldfields after graduation, obtaining great wealth from mining engineering projects in China, France, Russia, Korea, Japan, Burma, Egypt, England, and Australia. He became a millionaire by the age of 40. After serving as Secretary of Commerce for 8 years, Hoover won the presidency in a landslide victory over Alfred Smith. Elected the 31st U.S. president in 1928, he was the first president born west of the Mississippi River. October 29, 1929 was Black Tuesday, the day when the stock market crashed, triggering the Great Depression. Shanty towns across America filled with homeless families were coined Hoovervilles, indicating the man blamed for the horrific economy. As a result, Hoover was strongly defeated in the following presidential election by New York native Franklin D. Roosevelt. Returning to California, he established the Hoover Institute at Stanford University. Hoover died in his suite at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City on October 20, 1964. The engineering marvel, the Hoover Dam on glistening Lake Mead, was named in his honor. And we have visited Lake Mead and the Hoover Dam on various occasions, and most recently just at the beginning of this March. And here's a picture of us on the new highway that's been constructed that takes travelers right past the Hoover Dam and not driving over it as has been done in the decades before. American history. Love it, learn it, appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you to those of you who join and watch our Facebook Lives on Sundays and on Tuesdays. On Sundays at 2 p.m. Central Time, Steve presents a creation seminar lesson. We're having a great response to this, and we will soon be doing these on YouTube live for our YouTube subscribers that do not do Facebook. And on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Central, Steve does a Walk in Faith lesson, and we are getting great feedback from both of these, so please spread the word, and thank you. As you know, our spring schedule has all been canceled, and not sure if our summer schedule will hold. So we are depending on you guys out there and our new listening audience to help support this ministry. Thank you very much.